a lot of the fringe groups, let's call them that, the different factions of the Conservative Party who are naturally Boris Johnson supporters, will be putting a lot of pressure onto Rishi Sunak to come up with a plan so that the Conservative Party wins the next election. So I think there is that side of it. There is also a little bit of wanting that magic to rub off on him. But you've got Rishi Sunak.
That's dangerous, isn't it?
Absolutely dangerous. I mean, I don't think it's a good idea whatsoever. And I think Dennis is right that there are some real gaffe issues that could well come up during the campaign. And I think Scarlett's hit it on the head that the red wall seats aren't the entire election.
The Times has just revealed within the last hour Boris Johnson, who will be campaigning, the Times understands, on behalf of the Conservative Party under Rishi Sunak in those tricky marginal red wall seats that were won by the Conservatives in 2019. There is no doubt that people turn up for Boris Johnson, don't they? We've seen that. And in fact, this weekend I spent quite a bit of my time watching the rise and fall of Boris Johnson on Channel 4, which is just fascinating. You know, again, it's sort of one of those opuses that you watch and you're reminded of several things, how badly it went wrong for Boris Johnson, but also what a magnetic personality, what a draw he was, both for the London mayor and also for the Prime Minister. He has an abundance, Claire Pearsall, what Rishi Sunak does not. And I wonder what it says about Rishi Sunak that he is prepared to let Boris Johnson come back into the fold and be part of his big boombastic PR machine.
It is quite interesting because I think that a lot of the fringe groups, let's call them that, the different factions of the Conservative Party who are naturally Boris Johnson supporters, will be putting a lot of pressure onto Rishi Sunak to come up with a plan so that the Conservative Party wins the next election. So I think there is that side of it. There is also a little bit of wanting that magic to rub off on him. But you've got Rishi Sunak.
That's dangerous, isn't it?
Absolutely dangerous. I mean, I don't think it's a good idea whatsoever. And I think Dennis is right that there are some real gaffe issues that could well come up during the campaign. And I think Scarlett's hit it on the head that the red wall seats aren't the entire election. There are lots of other seats where people are angry, people are Conservative voters who are angry, those blue wall seats. But also, not everybody in red wall seats is a natural Boris supporter. And I think to lump them together like that is extremely discourteous to those individuals.
Let us know what you think. Please do. 0333 003 2353. What do you make of Boris Johnson making a return to frontline politics? It's understood, the Times being told that he is very likely to be campaigning for Rishi Sunak and the Conservatives in those red wall 2019 seats in the run-up to the general election. Apparently, relations have been thawed with Rishi Sunak, so much so that Sunak's decided to enlist him. Let us know if you agree. 0333 003 2353. Are you just relieved to have a bit of personality back in British politics? I mean, the fact that we've got to that stage, maybe Boris Johnson is what will keep us going until November, if anyone's feeling a little bit wary of all the election chat. This message in from Peter. Kate, have the Conservatives no shame in rolling out Boris Johnson after all of Brexit and COVID-19 Partygate? Goodness, they must think we, the public, have forgotten or don't care. How immoral are they? And then another one here. Here in the north of Ireland, Boris did the United Ireland lobby a great boost, says our texter. Brexit, Brexit, Brexit. Then there was the bridge between the North and Scotland, finally courting the charms of the DUP, assuring them that there would be no border in the Irish Sea. The purveyor of unicornism, says our correspondent. Is there anyone out there who thinks it'll be a good idea? Just, you know, even for the lols. Let us know. 87222, start your message with the word Times, or 0333 003 2353 if you're going to WhatsApp. What does this say about the point at which Rishi Sunak has reached? Maybe this is great. Maybe this does make politics popular again. Maybe Boris Johnson is the person to get that message across. You can't deny he has been, at times in his career, very popular, very magnetic. He's boosterish, and people like that during a cost of living crisis, do they? Where should Boris Johnson be heading, Scarlett, if not to the Red Wall? If that is a bit of a dud, as you've said earlier, that people are already going to go away, move away from the Conservatives, and it isn't worth Boris Johnson's time, effectively, if I'm going to paraphrase you bluntly, where should he go?
I think you can probably work out quite a lot from the sorts of places that Keir Starmer has been going to give his speeches. So, yes, he was sort of paying quite a lot of it to Red Wall, but a lot of his speeches, especially these mission pledges, we've been seeing him do from sort of commuter belt towns. So these are sort of more traditional, what people might call bellwether seats, so ones that went Blair and then Cameron, for example. Sometimes it's a little bit, more complicated than that, but they're ones with like quite more sizable Conservative majorities that are outside of the Red Wall, because a lot of those Red Wall majorities are on sort of, I'm trying to work out the thousands, they're under double digit thousand majorities, and they look like they're going to go anyway. So you're looking, as I said, at the sort of commuter belt towns, and we saw one Labour think tank press forward this idea of Stevenage women, and it's exactly, I mean, they can be a bit naff, those archetypes, but nevertheless, I feel like that is more where this election will be won and lost.
Very simply, I don't think it makes any difference. All the people in red wall, blue wall, green wall, pink wall seats will be deciding on the basis of television, Times Radio, local radio stations, what their mates are saying in the street, and probably already made up their minds. I had the honour of Tony Blair coming and taking a cup of tea and watching a local cricket match on the eve of the 2001 election. It didn't make any difference. The buzz didn't go around the town. It did there. He's very famous. The players ran off the pitch and wanted him to autograph their bats. We've had Gordon Brown, wonderful speaker. And I did my fair share as a minister of going to towns. Not that I'm very important. But I just didn't really think it made that much of a difference.
I think there is something in that, although there is, I think a lot of people have made up their mind and already moved on from this government, which is part of the reason why, no matter what this government announces, those headline polls are so static. So, any hope for sort of tax
nothing
cut
is
giveaways or
shifting the
anything,
dial, is
nothing
it?
shifts it. The autumn statement didn't, the budget didn't, the conference didn't, the King's Speech, all of these sorts of big events we were told might persuade voters hasn't. However, I also think that there are an awful lot of voters who are currently saying they are undecided. They are disproportionately former Conservative voters. And I do
About
think
20%, isn't it, Scarlett? Around
yeah,
there,
it's
15
around
to
that,
20?
and that could really make things an awful lot more competitive if the Conservatives were to say win back half of them. I'm not saying that would mean they could then hold on even, but it would change things quite dramatically going to the next election. And we do know, because they're telling pollsters they've not made up their mind yet, and I think that is a little bit more interesting now. Quite a lot of them may well say, sod it all, I'm not going to vote, full stop, or they may sort of protest vote. We've been seeing quite a lot of that recently. But either way, I don't think it's quite over yet. I do think that, I don't think the Conservatives are going to win. I don't think there's going to be a hung parliament, but I think there's actually still quite a lot to play for with those undecided voters.